What is up, Fan Clan? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Danny Phantom. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for coming and checking me out. I really appreciate it. If you like what you hear, please consider hitting that subscribe button down below. Share this video with your friends. Give this video a thumbs up. Comment down below. I love the comments. You guys are amazing. I love reading what you have to say. If you've been here before and you came back again, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate all the support. You guys are awesome. I've been getting a lot of questions about these guys, about graded cards, about PSA graded cards in specific. Where do I go? What do I do? I'm going to answer all those questions tonight in this video. And when I say I'm going to answer them, I really mean somebody else is going to answer them. I got on a call earlier today with one of my really good friends. His name is Charlie Herlacher. Maybe you have heard of him. He is the U.S. representative for Ludkins. And he is an awesome, awesome guy. He's going to answer a bunch of questions for you. I just sat down with him for about 20 minutes, asked some pressing questions, asked information about where you guys would go, how to get your cards graded. He answers all of it, so pay attention for that. I do apologize in advance. Some bad weather was coming through when we were doing it. The audio was fine, but the quality of the video is just really, really bad. I also, it doesn't help that I was using a very old laptop because my new computer had to get sent back for repair for the third time. So I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you so much. Our next video should be coming out in a couple days, and hopefully I'll have Vivid Voltage, and we'll do a little bit of a early opening with that. So thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it. I'll see you later. All right, guys, thank you so much. We are here with Charlie Herlacher from Ludkins. Charlie, if you could just give me a brief introduction about who you are and what Ludkins is, just so everybody understands kind of what you do, I guess.
Sure. I am specifically with my relationship to Ludkins. I am the U.S. Director of Operations. So I run the Ludkins Collectibles grading service insofar as it pertains to the United States, and then also everywhere outside of the United States that is not the UK or the EU. So my job is to make sure that everything is going smoothly, that all the needs are met, that the cards are being handled well, that the people who handle them are happy, and that cards are getting out as fast as possible to professional authentication groups so that you can get your slabs back in hand and make money off of them.
Perfect. So I get a question a lot of times about what grading service people should use because CGC is kind of on the market and they're starting to gain more popularity because their grading service is obviously a little bit quicker as far as turnaround time goes. But PSA still kind of reigns supreme when it comes to the grading industry as far as Pokemon goes. So why is it that PSA goes number one, I guess?
Sure. I mean, a lot of it has to do with just like the earlier days of grading in the hobby. So grading has only really been popular in the hobby for like 6 or 7 years. It's had a longer history in other hobbies, coins, paper money, comics, even in cards. You know, sports cards have been grading for a lot longer than Pokemon cards. But as the hobby has grown and matured and stuff, grading has become a more significant part of it. And PSA was very involved in those early days, you know, starting to recognize more cards. So when you're comparing it, there's really only two other companies that are kind of have a significant position in the market. The first one is BGS, or Beckett Grading Services, and they have exclusively focused on sports. They didn't really lean into the Pokemon market at all. And then CGC, which just launched this year. And so even though CGC is owned by the largest company in terms of like overall grading of all collectibles, their trading card division has just started or has just launched this year. So PSA was the only major company, you know, in the past who was involved in Pokemon. And so that's why they're number one, is really they have captured the market sort of as it grew up until this year when the first, in my opinion, the first real alternative became available.
Perfect. Cool. And why? So obviously, Ludkins is a middleman service, and people can go out and they can get an account for PSA. They can send their own cards. They don't need to use somebody else. Why is it more of a benefit to use a company like Ludkins than go out and just get an account on your own?
Right. So Legends Collectibles, you know, I'll go back a little bit to like sort of like why Legends Collectibles exists at all, which is that there's a lot of accessibility issues that come with grading. You have to have the account. You have to know how to submit the cards. You have to have the right supplies. You have to have the right information to put your card into their system. So the whole process, it takes a long time and it's very tedious. And so Legends came in with the idea that we could make that process better. And so the purpose of Ludkins is not to be the only way that you can submit, right? Because the grading companies themselves, that is sort of the channel. Ludkins has said, how can we take the primary submission channels that are relevant, so we do CGC and PSA, and make it as good as possible. So the first thing is time. I told you we condense the submission process into the least amount of work possible for you. The second is price. So we take, as the largest non-sports middleman in the world, we take the power that we have and the bulk discounts that we get from the suppliers, and we pass those savings on to you. So in almost every circumstance, Ludkins is the cheapest way for you to grade your cards. And if you're grading bulk cards, you're grading cards under $249 in value. Ludkins is always the best. It doesn't matter the volume you do or what kind of situation you already have with PSA. Ludkins Collectibles has a guarantee that we will be like number one. And so you're saving on price as well. Ludkins has additional services. So right now you actually can't even get a membership if you wanted one with PSA. They've kind of closed off their memberships. So the cheapest way you could submit right now is $50 per card. And normally the cheapest way you can submit is $20 per card, unless you are purchasing their membership. So you're paying them an annual fee. And then you're also grading hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cards. Ludkins has additional services. So we have a bulk discount that's available to everybody with no membership. Without having to meet a certain minimum. If you only have one card, we make sure that you get a good price for that one card instead of having to have hundreds of cards to get a good deal. We also offer turnaround times that are just not an option with PSA Direct. So, for example, PSA recently suspended their 20-day submission service that was sort of like the price tier between the $50 and the $10. Ludkins has a price at $30. We still have that submission option. The next option is the next benefit is sort of customer service. Customer service is really significant because it's not just the customer service that we provide by being in constant communication with you, because PSA provides little to no communication throughout their entire process, but also access to better customer service within PSA, because as one of their largest clients and is one of the closest people to CGC as well, we're able to access higher levels of customer service with those companies because we are not just one more fish in the sea for them. We're like a big fish. And so they're really paying attention to what we do. And so God forbid if anything went wrong with your submission, you had a card that was damaged or, there were problems related to that, we're going to have a more likely chance of getting that resolved for you on your behalf by advocating for you. And we don't charge anything extra to do that. It just comes in with using us. Finally, I would say insurance is the biggest one. So one of the things that you have to know about insurance is that like risk pooling requires lots and lots and lots and lots of cards. So if you're one small submitter and you're only doing a few cards or even a few hundred cards, it's very difficult for you to sort of like come out ahead when it comes to grading, because if you have one card damaged or one order damaged, that's going to be a massive loss for you. And negotiating on that's going to be very difficult because PSA and CGC's terms are not very favorable for the client. We provide third-party insurance that includes when it's in the possession of both CGC or PSA. And so we're making sure that your cards are protected and that if the worst case scenario happens, that you're going to be leaving with a big check for that. And that's a really important process that we're the only ones with the customized insurance that covers this entire process in the entire world. So there's other people who will send your cards, but usually they're charging you more. And even if they're charging the same price, you're never getting that customized insurance. And that's a really expensive, very difficult to find insurance, but we spent years crafting it. And it's something that we offer at absolutely no additional cost. It just comes built in because we believe that your cards should be taken care of.
That's a big safety net that you can offer too, which a lot of other companies or, mom and pop, I guess, middlemen can't do, which is really cool. There's a lot of questions out there about what people should be getting graded, and the market's obviously super insane right now, and nobody really knows where it's going. We've had just giant price increases for a ton of old vintage product. I mean, I remember having conversations with you a year ago or 2 years ago talking about base set hollows. You could find base set hollows for $1, $2, $3 a piece, and now all of a sudden you can get heavily played, damaged ones for $35, $40, depending on which one you want to get.
Everything on camera that we said in the past, ignore it. We're starting over.
So what are people looking for to get graded right now? Because it's very tough as somebody who's just getting into the game right now to be like, well, I want to buy these cards or I want to buy these slabs, but I also want to protect my investment down the road. I don't want to be buying stuff right now that's, $200,000 now, and in 10 years, it's only going to be $198,000. So what are they looking for to get graded? What are they trying to find right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest misconceptions that it comes to grading is that it's only worth it if it's vintage. That's just not the case. Most of the opportunities in the modern cards, Ludkins Collectibles does over 25,000 modern cards every single month. So one of the biggest chunks is modern, and if you look to similar markets as well, like sports cards, modern is almost that entire market because eventually you get to the point where there's just not really accessible, worth grading vintage cards, and so as the hobby becomes more and more optimized, more and more developed, eventually those numbers of like available vintage cards to grade just disappear. But grading does not disappear. The reality is that people are going to want the hot Charizard that comes out today. They're going to want that in 10 years too. That's just how it is. And it's going to be harder to get. And the best thing you can do is preserve that condition as fast as possible. I think that the market would be a lot more satisfied today if we had had grading as soon as these base set Charizards were coming out.
Sure.
A lot more people would have the chance to have a PSA 10. And as we know, it doesn't matter if there's 1,000 PSA 10s, 10,000 PSA 10s. People still want that card. 2016 Evolutions, I think it hit like 1,000 full art Charizards that were graded in a 10, and we thought that was crazy. We were like, there's no way there's a market for this, and we have been stunned as the price continues to go up and continues to go up on that card. Even before the current Evolutions hype that's kind of happening right now, even before that kind of blew up, that card was like highly desirable. And so I think that that's a really good beacon, a really good indicator that in the future, these modern Charizards are going to be desirable. It doesn't have to be Charizard though. Modern ultra rares, lots of people send them. The number one thing that you can do, send cards that you like. That way, no matter what, if you don't get the grades that you think you should have gotten, or the grades that you had hoped for, you're still going to be happy because it's your collection. It's protected. And the reality is in today's market, it's very hard not to break even. Grading's roughly $10 a card. And just about every single slab, you could sell them in bulk PSA 7s, and still get $10 a slab. So the investment's pretty much always worth it. So just send the cards that you love, send the cards that you think other people are going to love, keep an eye on trends, keep an eye on what's hot, and grade your ETB Charizard Ps that came out, because those are definitely something you should be grading.
Mm-hmm. And you think the market is stable for PSA slabs, that for the long run it's going to be a stable investment, and you're always going to have at least, I mean, in my mind, like you said something that was important when you talked about protecting your investment and making sure that you're protecting the condition of the card. In my mind, it makes sense to do something like a PSA grade, because down the road you are protecting that investment, and that does point to having a stable market. But right now, when you see people who are literally paying $400,000 for a first edition PSA 10 Shadowless Charizard, like, is that really still going to be worth $400,000 2 years from now, 3 years from now?
Sure. I mean, so the most expensive card to date, and this is a sports card, right? You would think that it would be like the most desirable holy grail of all time, which would be the T206 Honus Wagner, right? Now, that's a really, really, really old sports card, and it sells for like over $1 million. It's not. The most expensive card is a 2009 Mike Trout Superfractor. It's a one-of-one card that was released with like just over 10 years ago, right? That's a modern card. Okay, that's the most expensive card that's ever come around. So absolutely, the market is, what I think a common misconception is that graded is sort of like its own market. But it's not. What it is graded is a service that is provided and creates a cross section with all of the markets. And so if there is a market for Pokemon, there will be a market for graded Pokemon. So the stability is intimately tied to the existence of the hobby. If anything, even if you had a situation where a lot of the hype died down, graded is going to do better than the non-graded cards. Because people who remain are going to be more passionate, right? They're going to be less interested in the money side of it, but that means that they're going to be more interested in the condition side of it. And so grading becomes a situation where it is the absolute safest place that you can invest with the hobby. It's the safest slabs, that you can maintain. You don't want to have a binder going into a situation where you don't know what you're doing, where you can be taken advantage of. Grading gives you immediate access to information, so you can look up, hey, what does a PSA 10 go for? When you're trying to figure out an ungraded card, figuring out a price is nearly impossible because you're looking at all these examples and none of them perfectly match, right? But if you go into graded slabs, at least hey, I have a 9, I have a 10, and it's this card. And you can look that up and you can find really good data really fast. And that puts you in a position where you're always going to do better with the cards that you already have. One thing that I think makes all of those benefits a lot easier is that the price of grading almost always pays for itself. I mean, like 99% of the time it pays for itself. So it is an investment up front. You are kind of locking away $10 extra per card. But when you're talking about your best cards, I mean, what is that? It's like 2.5, 3 booster packs. I mean, tell me you haven't opened 3 dud booster packs in the last month. I doubt it.
I've opened a lot. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, and then one final question that I wanted to ask, because there's a lot of people coming into the market right now, a lot of people coming into the game right now, and PSA was already running behind due to incidents that happened outside of their control with COVID and everything that's going on in the world. And now with everybody coming into the game, it seems like things are just kind of getting pushed back further and further. Do you have any answers or ideas as far as how that backlog is being addressed or what's going to happen in the future, or is it just send cards in, you're going to get them back next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit of both, right? I mean, on the one hand, if you're going to grade in the cheapest way possible, you need to understand what you're buying. You're buying the excess processing power that PSA has over their premium tiers. So when you're paying the $50 a card, you're the primary client. You're going to get taken care of. Your cards are going to come first. Your cards are going to be the ones that get in and out really quickly. And they tell you that up front. When you're doing the cheapest way possible, what you're purchasing is that additional purchasing or that additional processing power. So if 90% of their processing power is dedicated to those 5 days, those 20 days, those faster turnarounds, those special items where they have a higher margin, if you're paying the least amount, you're just less important, and only 10% of those are going to get done. So I think the first thing that's happening is that there's an increase in emphasis on those higher tiers. I think one of the ways that we see that is with the elimination of one of their cheapest premium tiers. So now that they're asking for $50 a card if you're not going to do it through bulk. So that creates sort of like a hard dichotomy. Are you paying up or are you not paying up? The good news is that in Pokemon, we have more and more and more cards that are worth paying up for, and that it's eating that bigger fee. I think the second thing to consider is that the longer turnaround time can be a benefit to you. And I know that that sounds weird because a lot of people are like, why would me getting my cards slowly be more beneficial? But what it means is that there's a benefit to having a card on hand. So if the demand increases and your cards are already graded and you're already holding them, you're going to be the first one that gets to take advantage of that increase. And if other people see that demand, they can't react quickly to it, at least not at an effective cost basis, right? So if I'm saying, hey, look, these graded cards are going for $100 now, that's a $5 card and a $10 grading fee. If I have that card in hand, I'm selling it, I'm making $85 right then and there. But if I have to grade it, now I have to wait 6 months, 7 months, and I'm paying if I want to keep my cost basis that $10 price. So even though I'm in at the same amount, everybody else that had them on hand or everybody else that's sent ahead of me is going to get to take advantage of that money first. And if that brings down if that brings up the supply, if it brings down the demand, I'm going to be losing out. That's not going to be a good situation for me. So people who are consistently grading, who are being cavalier about it, who are willing to submit their cards and take that risk, they're really the ones that are winning right now. And I think 6 months, a year from now, they're still going to be the ones that are winning. Granted, PSA is still trying to work on getting those under control. I think that there has been an increasing amount of transparency surrounding it. I think one of the hard transitions was that they were like basically advertising turnaround times, but they were estimated, right? And in their terms, those estimated turnaround times are not enforceable. They're not going to give you your money back. They're definitely not going to give you a discount or anything like that just because the turnaround time goes over. Because again, the most affected turnaround times are the cheapest turnaround times that were available. You're paying for that extra processing power. And so when that extra processing power doesn't exist, the turnaround times get longer. And that's just sort of the situation. I think the PSA is being more transparent about how long it's taking to register packages, being more transparent about the way that COVID's affecting them. They're being more transparent about how they're hiring, how they're trying to expand their team. But the reality is that what they're providing is a very specialized service. You can't go to Walmart and buy a grader off of the shelf, right? It's not a matter of them just throwing up an Instagram post and saying, hey, we're hiring. The people that they bring on need to be good so that they can maintain the quality of services that are being provided over the long term. So I think that PSA is doing all those things. But if that's still not good enough for you, if you're not satisfied, now we have CGC. CGC is new in the game. You're not going to have the same guarantees in terms of short-term market value because it takes time to develop a reputation. And I think even the reputation is not the most important part. It takes a lot of time to just develop that advertising power, that marketing power. Right now, people are typing in PSA 10 Pokemon, and they're looking through all of the listings. They're not typing CGC 10, And so it does take time. There is a drawback to that short-term market power. But if you're doing it for your own collection, the cases look great. The price point is great. Bloodkins can still help you and give you all the benefits that you would have been getting. And the process is going to be pretty quick. Their bulk turnaround time takes about 6 weeks. So you have other options if you aren't satisfied with that. But I think that right now everybody's being transparent as best as they can be. I think the circumstances are changing really fast, and that's difficult sometimes for people to keep up with. And I know that some people came in with ideas about what grading was going to be, and unfortunately, they got caught up in a really long process that wasn't what they expected. My advice to them would be hang in there and continue to send cards, because sending cards is really going to be the best thing for you long term. And every single person that says, I'm going to wait this out, is one less competitor for you.
There you go. Awesome. Well, we will cut it there for this segment at least, and then hopefully we can have Charlie back on another time to talk more in depth about grading opportunities. Charlie, where should people go? How can they submit cards to you to get graded, so everybody can know where they should be sending their cards?
For sure. You can find us on Instagram at Ludkins USA. I know that you have a big Instagram following. You can go to ludkinsusa.com or ludkinscollectibles.com and click on the USA grading brochure. You can contact me, Charlie, at ludkinsusa.com, or you can contact our team, support at ludkinsusa.com. Any way that you want to reach out to us, Facebook, Twitter, we'll get a hold of you. So if you're looking for something, just ring any of those plugs, and I'm sure that Danny can also help you get links if you need to. And we'd be more than happy to make sure that whatever you need, we could get taken care of.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Charlie, for joining us for a little bit. Really appreciate it. And we will, yeah, we'll talk to you later, guys. Bye.